Winterizing your yard, you're going to be dealing with fungus, you're going to be dealing with fertilizer. And this is actually, particularly for cool season grasses, the most critical time of the year for fertilization. We're going to give you some don't-dos on warm season grasses as far as fertilization going into the winter. We're going to also deal with weed control. That's always everybody's problem, particularly poa annua. And we'll give you some real good guidance on poa annua control because everybody hates that. And we're also going to talk about spring greenup and how we can, when we go into spring, some of the things we can do to maybe get things woken up a little sooner. Let's get started. Before fall, I'm going to go over each nutrient and how it pertains to what you need to be doing here in the fall. First two are phosphorus and potassium, and I'm using them both. Those need to be based on soil tests, and I have a soil test video. Shows you how to take the test, how to fill out the paperwork, where to submit it, and I'll give a QR code right here. It is also in the description and first comment of that video. This QR code will take you, those who watch it on TV, leave it in the comment, first description of this video, a link to a website that has listed all 50 states where you can get a soil test from a land-grant university, unbiased, at your state. And it's kind of customized to the soils in your state as well. So that's a great place to get it. It's unbiased, oftentimes for free, usually around less than $10. Some of these soil testing labs, they have fertilizer trying to use you. They skew it towards there, but definitely based on soil tests. So what does that last number on that bag do? The potassium. If you look at the three numbers on the bag, that's the last one. Potassium hardens off the plant, gives cool season grasses better summer survivability, warm season grasses better winter survivability. Definitely want to make sure that those are at a good level going into fall. Phosphorus, it just needs to be at a good level. Phosphorus is important for those of you cool season grasses that are overseeding. We don't want to be seeding warm season grasses in the fall, so that's that's not even the topic for discussion here. But that middle number is what you will need if you are overseeding in the fall. Nitrogen. Now, there's a difference here. This is where both of you diverge a bit between warm and cool season grasses. Warm season grasses, you don't want to be putting out any nitrogen 6 weeks prior to dormancy. What nitrogen will do to both cool and warm season grasses is encourage that topical growth, the shoots, the leaves. And if you put that out on warm season grasses 6 weeks prior to dormancy, your turf will be putting its resources into foliar growth. You don't want that going into winter. You want it putting those resources into those roots, protecting that crown, which is the meristematic tissue, the growth tissue of the plant, getting it ready for winter. If you do that, you will compromise its ability to get through the winter, cold hardiness, also encourage some fungal issues, and we're going to talk about that for everybody here in a minute.
On cool season grasses,
I would encourage you, pretty much all grasses. Fine fescue, maybe back this off to a ½ pound, but at least put 1 pound of nitrogen down here in the fall. That will do two things. One, it'll bring the sugars up in the plant. Two, it'll help you recover from winter. Three, it's not more than what the plant can handle, and it is encouraging it to go ahead and come in and look good like this. So, two options here I'll throw out at you. One, I've talked about in other videos, this Lowe's Performance, our Stay Green Max. This is actually a sulfur and polymer-coated product. I go in depth to fertilizer tags, what the coatings are, and how all they work in this video. I encourage you guys to watch that. Polymer-coated urea in there is a temperature-dependent release. I also have a 2174 on my Amazon storefront. Leave a QR code here if you guys want to check out my fertilizer list there. The reason why I really like polymer-coated, not polymer sulfur-coated, simply polymer-coated, there's a difference. Go over in that video. It is a temperature-dependent release. So when you put that urea out that is polymer-coated, the colder it gets, the less it releases. The warmer it gets, the more it releases. So if you put that out in the fall and we have a mild winter, it will continue to feed that grass at a very great rate, almost right along with the temperature. Keep your grass green, and it'll give you outstanding spring greenup using a polymer-coated product. For Bermudagrass, guys, I go with that Stay Green Max on my Bermuda. I put it out one time. I put it out 3 pounds of nitrogen per thousand, which is actually more than the label, but Bermudagrass can handle it. It fed me for almost the entire year. I put one more application out. I went over what I put in that Lowe's video. Lowe's has tremendous deals right now. So take a look at them. I leave my Amazon storefront for you guys to comparative shop. But some of these box stores putting their Christmas stuff out. I go over in that Lowe's video. I had a great deal on propiconazole this morning. I paid $5 for a bag for it, and it's generally $20 a bag. I got 4 bags of it and bought it this morning, as a matter of fact. We'll get to disease control here in a minute. That's fertilization going into fall. One other thing while I'm here. There's a bad spot in my yard, and this is good for anybody. I show you in this video spots in your yard that continuously come up year after year after year and what to do about them. This is the one I had in my yard. This is actually a low spot in the yard. You probably can't appreciate it on the video, but what has happened a lot to this yard that I have is this low spot. This yard used to be mowed by a riding lawnmower. And when this wet spot got wet, the riding lawnmower, as sometimes you got to, was mowing when it was wet, compacted this soil, and I relieved the compaction in this soil with the Turfus. Actually, I used the Fielder's Choice aggregate, but the Turfus is the same thing. I have both on my Amazon storefront. There's my soil amendments QR code. You want to check it out. But check out that video. I show you how to address these small areas. And it's not a bad move, both cool and warm season grasses going into fall, to go ahead and do this now, because here in the spring, you're going to forget it. So go ahead and try to do that now if you have some of those bad spots. The other yard I have on the channel, this is all Bermudagrass, and I actually was pretty happy this year. I used a plant growth regulator on it for the first time. I have used them previously. There's my video on it. Word to the wise, I'd probably start the PGR program, both cool and warm season grasses, in the spring. For those of you who want a little bit higher notch of a yard, that's something to consider. Please look at the label on those as far as applying it. But if you guys, I really darkened up. No, I did not do it with iron. Anyway, see my iron video on that. Anyway, but to give you an idea of what I did this year on this Bermuda. So let's talk about disease. And actually, there's not a whole lot of difference, and I'll tell you why, between cool season grasses and warm season grasses. Because basically, you only got two types of fungicides you can put down. That's azoxystrobin, and that's propiconazole. So that's why there's not that much difference. Where you guys want to be thinking about particularly warm season grass guys, went to the Lake Wheeler Turfgrass Research Facility at NC State last month. I'll go over and show you how they do the NTEP trials, comparing different seeds, varieties, and how they perform, particularly warm season grass guys. I go over the turf research that they're doing there, and they talked extensively about Zoysia patch, large patch, and diseases in warm season grasses. My visit has inspired me to use the channel to contribute to turfgrass research. If you scan this QR code with your mobile device while you're watching on television, it will take you to my last video. Then you can scroll down, find the super thanks, and contribute what you would like to contribute to turfgrass research. Part of the proceeds go to the channel, part of the proceeds go to the NC State Turfgrass Research. For those of you on mobile device, iPad or computer, you can simply scroll down the exact same way the folks did with the QR code, hit the super thanks button, and contribute what you would like to see with the super thanks. And I appreciate the support. Those of you who have warm season grasses that are older than 3 to 5 years old, that's when you start seeing these spring diseases like Zoysia patch, large patch, spring dead spot, and a few others. So, cool season grass guys, what you're concerned about somewhat is snow mold. Pink snow mold, gray snow mold, and there is a slight difference. What is a person to do? I will say, as far as warm season grass guys, you can use an azoxystrobin or you can use a propiconazole, either one. And that's basically the azoxystrobins are Scotch Disease X or any oxystrobin product. That's these right here. Propiconazole are these right here. It's a bio-advanced product, sprayable. There's also a granular. I actually bought, as I might have said earlier, got that on sale this morning at Lowe's. propiconazole. There's actually a few others that I have on my Amazon storefront, my fungicide list. I think there's a gunner in there too, which is a sprayable if you guys use a lot of propiconazole and you want to spray it. It's not a bad way to go. Typically, that BioAdvance product and the Scott's Disease EX will be just fine. There's also some astute guys that have left in the comments about Headway. It is basically a mixture of propiconazole and an azoxystrobin. It is both of them. I may go ahead and put that on my Amazon storefront as an idea. You guys can compare it. I think the bag might be a little bit more than what you would need in order to control these diseases that we may have going into winter. Now, as far as timing and application, warm season grass, guys, what they found at NC State was you really need to start putting down your propiconazole or an azoxystrobin about the time that ambient air temperatures are floating around 75 degrees. Prior to dormancy, obviously, you want to get that propiconazole and an azoxystrobin into that plant and have it circulating around and actually working for you. These spring diseases that you're seeing are actually attacking your plant prior to going into dormancy, weakening it, and it's actually the cold tolerance that's oftentimes killing it. So that is why you need to put your propiconazole, whatever fungal, propiconazole seems to be one that's pretty easy, but you want to start putting those on at 75 degrees. In 30 days, if you haven't gone into dormancy, you may want to follow up with one more application just to make sure you're covered. Don't mind a few dead spots in your yard. You don't have to put this stuff out. But if you want to reduce them on spring dead spot in Bermudagrass, it's basically in the same area every year. Conceivably, if you really want to be want to reduce your amount you're putting out, you could just track and spray those spots. But that's when you want to be putting that out, is when ambient air temperatures start to get below 75 degrees. Cool season grass, guys. There again, we're hanging with propiconazole and an azoxystrobin here. So what's the thing about snow mold? It does look unsightly. You see it in the spring coming out. Both Penn State and Cornell, and I confirmed it with them because I had a lot on the Facebook page last year. I do have a Facebook page if you guys can go to it, want to take pictures, don't know what's going on, want some guidance from me and other experts, and guys like yourself on there can give you some good guidance. Go to there. The thing about the Facebook page, I encourage comments down below. I really like the gems that I got to look up, and I love it when people tell me about stuff that has worked for them. So leave those two down in the comments or any other questions you may have. But the thing is, you go over to the Facebook page, you can take pictures of the problems, you can actually post them, and I can actually take a look. So can others as well. Anyway, had a ton on snow mold last year because we went 3 months here in the mid-Atlantic, and you guys up in Wisconsin, Michigan, you guys never do see the ground. And you do worry about snow mold. The thing is this. Generally, it is not going to kill your grass. It is going to look like hell in the spring. It may actually be alarming. Majority of the time, unless you have Kentucky bluegrass, tall fescue, ryegrass, you're really not going to have to worry about it too much. Yeah, it's going to look unsightly, but if you just go out there and remove, we'll get to mowing here in a minute, just remove some of those leaves that have been affected and let it grow in. It does not get in the meristematic tissue, which is the crown of the plant. Okay, excuse me for just a second. Okay, I zapped this with some glyphosate, by the way, but anyway, it's in my landscape bed. Doing some plant physiology here. This is Bermudagrass, by the way. This is where the crown of that plant is, right there. Okay, it's basically where it's connected to the stolon. That's the meristematic tissue. That's where the crown is, okay? It just gets into the leaves. It doesn't get down the crown. As soon as it kills the crown, you're done. That's the meristematic tissue. It's the brain of the grass, heart and brain of the grass. So it doesn't get down into there, generally. So it's not that big a deal if you guys don't want to spend the money. You're totally down with that. It's just those you maintaining a higher end yard, particularly Kentucky bluegrass, you want to put this out at least 3 weeks prior to your first significant snow accumulation, not snowfall. I usually get snow sometime around Halloween. I generally don't get any level of accumulation over a long period of time till Thanksgiving. Goes you further north, it's going to be a little sooner than that. But you want to actually put it out, ideally, really high in yard, probably put it out at least probably 6 weeks prior to snow, and then put it out again 2 weeks prior to where your snow hangs out. It will help But at the end of the day, if you have a warmer winter and you have this freeze fall, freeze fall, freeze fall, freeze fall, it's really not, it's eventually going to work its way out of the plant. You'll have less of it. But what bottom line is, you generally don't have to use a fungicide for the fall for your typical, normal, everyday yard. So I don't want you spending money. You don't have to unless you guys really want to maintain a higher end yard, and particularly your Kentucky bluegrass guys, that's something to keep in mind. Now, something else on preventative of fungus. I did a video last year. It's actually one of my more popular videos. Of all the stuff I've talked about, one of the most popular things I've got is mulching the leaves. I thought this was a stupid video, but anyway, I did it anyway, because do remove your leaves off your lawn as soon as you can. And the reason being is you are going to end up trapping that moisture in there, particularly warm season grass yards, and it's going to really encourage that fungal growth. So if you guys can go out, I generally just take a dry day and mulch these leaves right back in the yard. It's not going to hurt. It's not going to increase the pH. I go over in that mulching video. But that's one of the major things. If you can go ahead and keep things dry, okay, going into fall, everybody, that's the best way to do it. Don't let your leaves sit on your grass, because the only thing you're doing, you're building up is populations of the mycelia going into winter. I will say one other thing. If you do put the propiconazole out, particularly the azoxystrobin, the azoxystrobin has a little bit of contact fungal activity on fungus. It will reduce those populations, so it will help you a little bit more than I think the propiconazole. You could probably go propiconazole, then go with the azoxystrobin on cool season grasses. That's just an idea I'm throwing out there. Weed control. I've had a lot of folks ask me about crabgrass control in September. I can tell you one thing. Crabgrass in September is dead man walking. There's really no need to put a crabgrass control out in September, because by the time your first frost rolls around, it's going to be gone anyway. By the time, there is not a herbicide that I know on the market that will control crabgrass any faster at that time in September than what Mother Nature is going to do. So don't waste your money. I'm just going to throw it out there while I'm thinking about it. The other thing about weed control, mostly broadleaf weeds. Fall is an outstanding time for broadleaf weed control. I really like the SpeedZone. The reason why I like SpeedZone is for several reasons. One, you can put it on any grass. Two, it can work very well in colder temperatures. I played around with this last year, and I actually put it out on cool season yards. The one I was on in here in the first video. I put it out when it was 19 degrees. I didn't get the greatest control in the world in the spring, but it did eventually control it. The point I'm trying to make is it is good for all grasses, and you can put it out just about any time. If I had broadleaf weeds, clover, ground ivy, etc. in my yard, I would be putting that out on warm season grasses after dormancy. The reason being is anytime you put a herbicide out on your turf, it's going to set it back just a hair. You're generally not going to see a whole lot of difference for the most part, but it still is a herbicide, still going to get in the plant, and it still can slow things down. I would really encourage you warm season grass guys to wait after dormancy to do your broadleaf weed application. Far as cool season grasses, you guys can put that out about any time you want. Anytime after Labor Day, I would be cognizant. Okay, another thing about SpeedZone I like. You guys who are wanting to control broadleaf weeds, you can seed 7 days after putting this out. But, here's the but. You have to wait on any herbicide. Read the label. I think this one's no exception. It says 4 weeks after germination. And I would add to that, and that's true on a lot of herbicides, or the second mowing, whichever is longer. There again, if you've seeded in Labor Day, let's say worst case scenario, you got Kentucky bluegrass, it germinates, let's say it's 21st, mature by late October, you do your first mowing, you might do your second mowing mid-November. You've got till November, till probably the end of Christmas for most of us to put the SpeedZone out for it to work. So that's why I like to, and there again, cold temperatures. You want to try to do that as soon as you can because the warmer it is, the more it's going to be uptake by the plant. But that's when you want to do your broadleaf weed control applications for those tough weeds, ground ivy, clover, whatnot, wild violet. Because what they're doing is most of those are perennials and they're putting their resources into the roots, just like your turf grass does in the fall as it's going into dormancy, or the cool season grasses as it's going into winter. It's putting its resources in the roots, and it's putting those it's going to take that herbicide down into the root, and it's going to kill it more effectively. That's why you're not generally getting a whole great deal of weed control for broadleaf weeds in the summer, because it's not translocating through the plant as well as it's going to in the fall for broadleaf weeds. Heads up on broadleaf weeds. Now everybody's nemesis. Annua. Looks like this. It is a grass that everybody hates, nobody wants, and for good reason. It throws seed heads in the spring. It looks like the devil on warm season grasses, particularly coming out of dormancy in the spring. Summer, it dies out. On cool season grasses, it looks bad. I'm going to split you guys up a little bit. On cool season grasses, what I would do is I would go out with a mesotrione product. I have several here. The Sublime does have a little bit, it has triclopyr and dicamba in it, which are two broadleaf herbicides. And you can put it out at seeding. That's the nice thing about it with the broadleaf weeds. You can conceivably, if you want to spend the money and get both of them, SpeedZone and Sublime, you can put out the Sublime at seeding and then follow up maybe with the SpeedZone later on. But I'll get to more of that here in a second. Let's stick with just these, which is basically mesotrione products. You want to put those down at seeding. What that is going to do, can't put this out on Bermuda, I'll get to you guys here in a second. What this is going to do is this is going to give you 4 to 6 weeks of pre-emergent control for Annua, and you can seed the same day. It is also going to give you some post-emergent control of Annua. The thing is, with Annua, it starts to germinate in the fall when soil temperatures at 2 inches. I have a thermometer. It's a cheap one, but it works well for me. On my Amazon storefront here, it's on my tools list. I'll leave a link right here. Take it at 2 inches. When soil temperatures get below 70 degrees, Annua starts to germinate again and coming out in summer. So if you can get your mesotrione out, put that down, probably going to be seeding about that same time anyway. Seed into that, it's going to give you 4 to 6 weeks of pre-emergent control in Annua. It's probably going to whack, particularly if you use the tenacity. If you have a lot of Annua left, put the non-ionic surfactant in it. Go out with that tenacity. Really any of those, but I think tenacity because it's a brand name, particularly if you guys really have a lot of Annua. I'd be more inclined to go with the brand name. Even go with this, not the Sublime. I have tendency to go with tenacity if you really want good Annua control. Put that down. You're getting pre- and post-emergent activity. If you use an ionized surfactant, put it out the correct rate. Then you seed, going to give you 4 to 6 weeks. Then 4 weeks or second mowing, you could either A, put out your pre-emergent herbicide for the spring, which you guys, all of you, can put out pre-emergent herbicide in the fall and it will comfortably last you, unless you're down in zone 12. What I mean by this is there's a USDA plant hardness map. Generally, zone 11 and 12, you guys are year-round. You're not going into dormancy. You don't have to worry about it. You can use certainty, another video for another time, or Celsius. Anyway, but you guys can go ahead and put out your pre-emergent herbicide. The rest of you, from zone 9 and above, probably pretty comfortably put out your pre-emergent herbicide sometime around anytime after those soil temperatures get below 70 degrees, and you should last very easily in the next March or April. Pre-emergent herbicides break down with biological activity, so it's going to last a lot longer in the fall, winter, and spring than it is during the spring, summertime. That's why you can put it out in May, and then by really end of September, it starts going away. But you can put out pre-emergent herbicides in September, and it should last you easily till March or April of next year, probably into May for most of you, particularly if you're in zone 8 to 4. So, anyway, but to sum up, on cool season grasses, soil temperatures below 70 degrees, you want to start getting something out, either a mesotrione if you're seeding or a pre-emergent herbicide if you're not. Get it out. If you're seeding, go with the mesotrione. Seed it the same day. 4 weeks to 6 weeks of pre-emergent control with mesotrione on poa annua. Okay? Then either 4 weeks for the second mowing, put out your pre-emergent herbicide, or you can go with the second application of mesotrione product, but be aware if you go out with the mesotrione product again, it's going to be done. You're going to be done for the year, particularly if you use the max rate, because you want to do 2 max rates with tenacity, torcity, and most of the mesotrione products. The other mesotrione is at Scott's for seeding, if you want to go with that. Warm season grasses and pre-emergent herbicides. Okay, I hope you hung with me while through the poa annua, but talk with the cool season grass folks. But there again, when you get below 70 degrees, you really need to start getting your pre-emergent herbicide out for the fall. Now, there's been a whole lot on a lot of the Facebook groups that I'm involved with indaziflam, which is spectacle flow. This I don't have on Amazon storefront because it's $1,000 for a jug. And it goes out at a rate so small that a typical homeowner will have that for the next gosh knows how many years. There again, NC State looked at this. There's turfgrass research facility. Indaziflam does have some movement in soils during times of high moisture, high precipitation irrigation. So it does move a bit in soils. It is a great herbicide. Its cost per area, and I've done those calculations when I was a golf course superintendent trying to pick out what product I was going to use. It does have a low cost per acre or area, 1,000 square feet, whatever. But I will say one thing that they found at NC State was that good old-fashioned barricade, prodiamine, okay, does a great job. And the plots that I've seen, I'll leave a picture of them here. I think I got a picture. I'll leave it here. Those were the plots. I think you may even have a video. Those were the plots that they showed over last year. And the good old-fashioned barricade did a fine job. So, and it's cheap. Is it cheap per acre per Indaziflam? Quite honestly, I have not done that math, but you can get it in the barricade in this 4 ounce and put that out. I put out mine with a dial-in spray last year. By the way, you guys can use this dial-in spray. I have got the calibration for the dial-in spray video if you want to check it out. Some of you guys don't have a backpack sprayer. It's easy to put out. It's easy peasy. It's cheap. That 4 ounce size was great for homeowners. I know I used it on this yard this year, and I'd had great results this year with using prodiamine on this yard. I had a little bit of nutsedge. I had a little bit of nutsedge, but there's no pre-emergent herbicide that I'm aware of. It controls nutsedge. It's perennial. So anyway, but do keep that in mind. You also have diclopyr, which is dimension. Most dimension products that I've seen are usually in a gallon jug, which is more than what you would need, or it has nitrogen in it. So really, at the end of the day, all right, you want to pay $1,000 for an Indaziflam, that's fine. I'll support you 100%. I'll come over and help you put it out. I'll buy the beer. I'll bring the beer. So and bring it and buy it. But it just seemed like it's a lot to pay for me. Go with the barricade. That's what we used to do. And I'll tell you something else on Bermudagrass and Bahia. Many of you may know. Here's what we did at Preston. The 2 golf courses I was at in North Carolina. Around February, we would go out and you can put glyphosate. I have a glyphosate. I have 2 different glyphosates on my Amazon storefront. This is only Bermudagrass and Bahia grass. You can put glyphosate out in dormancy. A lot of actually herbicides you can put out on Bermudagrass while dormant. Check the label. Always check the label, follow the label, except blah, 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 blah. But anyway, you can go out with a glyphosate application. That's what I do on this yard. And that's what I do on golf courses in February and really clean things up. If you want to forego that application and go really cheap, you can go ahead and wait until February when you start warming up a little bit. Dormancy, there's actually an NC State article. Leave it here. Leave it down below. QR code here if you want to check it out. They talk about if you did a late application of glyphosate, it basically just slows things up and it doesn't come out of dormancy as fast. But you can do that. And you can put your prodiamine out at the same time and you can pretty much control all the weeds that you have. And that's pre-emergent herbicide and broadleaf weed control in the fall for everything. Yay. And as my robot lawnmower slowly goes across my yard, let's talk about mowing. And by the way, I've got a review. I've got basically I got several videos on where I've reviewed these videos. This one's an Ecovacs. I have an Anthrobot down in the other yard that does a pretty good job. I think I'll leave the QR code here. That is the list of robots that I have reviewed. If you guys want to check those out, the possibility of them actually maybe maybe there's a sale in the year sale. I really like this one. This is an Ecovacs. So anyway, does a good job. Mowing. We always did, we mowed fairways, Bermudagrass, at a 1/2 inch, and we always raised it up to 5/8 during the fall. And that's what we went into winter with in Raleigh. I think that's zone 7, if I'm not mistaken. Ideally on a home lawn, I know a lot of you guys, all grasses with the exception of centipede, zoysia, and Bermuda, you really need to be at 3 inches. If not, 4. Several reasons. One, you get any disease, particularly cool season grass, guys. You mow it at 4 inches, you go back out, you can only remove 1/3 of the leaf blade at one time. So if you mow at a higher height, you get a little bit of snow mold, you come out of spring, you go out, you do your first mowing, you can go ahead and lower it a bit. Wouldn't get too crazy with it. You want it to come out. But eventually, when it starts really growing and greening up, you'll eventually start mowing that, and you'll get a lot of that crap off of it from the snow mold or any type of mold you get from the winter. For everybody else, it does insulate, meaning St. Augustine, centipede, you want to keep it fairly low. I'll get to you guys here in a second. But yeah, basically St. Augustine, you guys want to go ahead and keep it at that 3-inch height. Probably majority you don't have to worry about it too much because you don't go into dormancy. As far as centipede, Bermuda, and zoysia, what you want to do is you want to keep it right at about 2 inches. I know some of you guys mow at a 1/2 inch. Go ahead and bump it up. The higher you mow it, the better off you're going to be. The closer you're going to be at that 2 inches going into winter, you're going to blanket things a little bit. Protect that crown that I showed you earlier, but the closer you can get at that 2 inches, all the better. I'm mowing mine right now at 2.5, and I'll probably maintain that height to cut throughout the winter. I probably have one of the more northern Bermudagrass lawns in the country, but there again, this is Yukon Bermudagrass. Those of you in a transition zone that really are tired of getting beat up. During the summer on cool season grasses, this stuff cruises through the summer, and the hotter it gets, the better it gets. So anyway, I talked about that in my overseeding video from 2024. But that's pretty much mowing. Now, other cultural practices. There again, you want to keep those leaves off and go ahead and mulch those up or remove them as quickly as possible. The other thing with cool season grasses, go ahead and do your aerification while you're overseeding. And I would encourage warm season grass guys to do aerification, but don't do it 6 weeks prior. I have an aerification video if you guys want to check that out. What that is going to do, that is going to open up the soil. You see this tilth zone here? Of how that opens up that soil and creates a little area of tilt that gets that water down in there during the summer, obviously relieves compaction. I also go over this extensively. Look at this. I'm going to include this in here too. This is a part of what I showed you on the other yard as far as fixing those bad spots. This is how I'm curing it. I'm taking a hole out of the ground and filling it with sand and that ceramic aggregate that I'll talk about in that video. But I'm giving you an idea of what you're doing when you're aerifying your soil. All these guys going out on YouTube with I almost said a really bad word there, with a damn sunjoe. Now, some grasses do get thatch. I have a dethatching video. I think they're so popular on YouTube, I think, because a sunjoe costs you $80 or some of these $80, and any goofball can go out with a hat on and go out and start making YouTube videos about dethatching. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. But anyway, it is. I've been doing this for 30 years, actually 35, a long time. It's just, anyway, aerification is the most important thing you can do. Not dethatching your yard. It's aerification. Thing is guys don't go out. I think a couple guys, I think Doc does. I like Doc. He's actually got one. But you can go out and rent these. Have an aerification video. You can rent them. $100 on the weekend, I can tell you. That's the cost of a doggone bag of fertilizer anymore, as much as expensive it is. That's the best thing you do to your yard is aerifying it. So, and that's time to put your lime out. Good time to seed for your cool season grass guys. But there again, warm season grass guys, you don't want to aerify 6 weeks prior to dormancy. You don't want that soil opened up too much going into winter. So do that sometime in early September, maybe mid-September, particularly after a few good rains. Soil kind of loosens up a little bit. For some of you guys, I read that actually part of this research I did for this video in Texas A&M down there, they don't go in, their first frost date's in November 15th. So you guys could probably go as late as 1st of October and aerify your yard and you'll be fine. I doubt you guys see dormancy. I see dormancy here in Halloween. So you guys probably don't see real dormancy until Thanksgiving. So doing it 1st of October when things get a little softer into the ground, you probably get a little more penetration out of it. It's probably not a bad move, just giving you a heads up there. So that's fall prep. And you know, if you do this, I've said this in other videos, what you do in the fall is going to set up spring, is going to set up summer, is going to set up what's going to happen next fall. And if you, it's a process. If you continue each season to do what you need to do, eventually it's going to get easier. I tell you, I've been on golf courses where if they're well maintained, it's easy. It's the ones that are absolute shit that you got to put a ton of effort, ton of time, ton of money in. That's the vicious cycle with golf courses. Is they go to crap, and then they don't have money because they go to crap because they don't spend it. Then they don't have the money to get it back out, and then it's just a vicious cycle anyway. So that's the golf course business. So anyway, that's fall fertilization, and I'm starting to ramble, so I'm getting the hell off here. And hey, as I say, it's not that complicated. And hey, leave comments down below. Check out the Facebook page. I'm here to help on that Amazon storefront. You guys want to check that out. That's just for comparing prices, and it gives you some guidance on some things you may want to consider for your yard. Anyway, I'm Greg Phillips. Thanks for watching.